Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome back to a new video, Massel MMA. We're back again. Third time this week. We got a streak going, I'm feeling good. It's a good Thursday. Um, Ignore my roommate in the back there. Uh, he's just living his life. He's an NPC, you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he's back there. He ain't gonna say nothing anyways. It's okay. So today we got fighters in must-win situations. So of course every fighter needs to win their next fight, right? But I made a list of fighters from every division that if they don't win their next fight, they're cooked. They had a good career. They had they are these are all title contending fighters. But if they lose their next fight, they're cooked. I don't see a path that they can easily reach the title again. And honestly, for most of these guys, I don't see a path where they would ever reach the title again if they lose their next matchup. All right, let's start off flyweight division. Let's start off by contradicting ourselves right off the bat. Steve Erceg. If this guy loses against Brandon Moreno, I don't think it's the end of his career. You know what I mean? There's very few contending flyweights that would be cooked after a loss. But out of all of them, I mean, of course, all of them would be a little cooked. But out of all of them, Steve Erceg would be the most cooked. Because he's not in the best spot in the rankings right now. Just came off of a knockout against Kai Kara France that he should have won that matchup. Kai Kara France isn't amazing. All right, he's not amazing. He's a very beatable fighter, and he got knocked down in the first round against him. You know, and he got gifted a matchup against Brandon Moreno. He needs to take full advantage of that because he had a good fight against Pantoja. Everyone knows he had a good fight against Pantoja. But what's it going to be if he loses to Moreno? Who's he going to fight? Almabayev? Do we really think he would beat Almabayev? I mean, after seeing what Cap did to Almabayev, we could see a Erceg win over Almabayev. But listen, man, he's going to have a cooked matchup after this if he loses to Moreno. He's definitely not going to be fighting up the rankings again if he loses to Moreno. And it will be a pretty long process back to a title shot. But out of everyone on this list, I feel like Steve Erceg would be the least cooked if he was to lose his next fight. Moving on now. Bantamweight division. We got Chito Vera. Chito Vera very similarly ranked to Steve Erceg. I'm pretty sure he's number 7 and Steve Erceg's number 8. One or the other, but they're both 7 or 8. I remember that. But Chito Vera, man, he hasn't been looking too good in his last couple of fights. I mean, the best he's looked in his last, I want to say the best he's looked in his last 4 fights was his last fight against, fuck. Sorry, y'all. The group chat was tweaking. I had to attend to that real quick. Anyways, back where we left off. The best he's looked in his last couple of fights was his fight against Davison Figueiredo. He did not look good against Sean O'Malley. Had a very bad showing against him. The fight before that, he won. You know what I mean? And the fight before that, he got schooled by Corey Sandhagen. If this guy doesn't win his next matchup, I mean, you look up the rankings. Who does he beat above him? I really don't think he beats Song Yadong. I really don't think he beats Piotr Yan. I really do not think he would even fight Sean O'Malley again. Marab's out of the picture. Like, this guy, genuinely, he's cooked. He's cooked if he loses his next fight. He would not, currently, he's not going to be fighting up in the rankings. I mean, we know that for a fact. Coming off of 2 losses in a row, it's kind of hard to fight up the rankings. He's going to have to fight down the rankings. We might see a potential matchup against Mario Bautista. And if he loses against Mario Bautista, man, I wouldn't even be rooting for him anymore. if he loses to Mario Bautista. He's the best chance we have to Mario Bautista getting his ass whooped. Okay? Moving on. Here we go. We got a surprise. This is also a matchmake right here. I got Brian Ortega and Aljamain Sterling on the screen here. Now, I know that Brian Ortega said he wants to move up to 155. Come on, dude. That's bullshit. We got Holloway moving up there. Holloway kicked his ass. We got Topuria moving up there. We know that Topuria would do unspeakable things to this guy. Dude, most of the lightweight top 10 would whoop this guy's ass. All right? Let's be real here. They would. And so I think he should stay in 145. And I think he should fight Aljamain Sterling. These guys are both in very, very similar points in their career where things aren't looking up for them. They aren't ranked really well, you know? These guys both started off with a good win, you know? He beat Brian Ortega. He beat Yair Rodriguez in his comeback fight. Really impressive win. Came back from the brink of being finished to submit Yair Rodriguez. Really good win. Then he got his ass kicked against Diego Lopez. Aljamain Sterling. You know, impressive win against Calvin Kattar. Not a really fun fight to watch, to be honest. But still, nonetheless, impressive win. Impressive win against Calvin Kattar. And then a loss to Mavzar. Now, if I had to pick, I would be picking Aljo here. I think that Aljo... I just overall think that Aljo has the better grappling over Ortega. You know? It's a very close fight to call. This is not a prediction video. I'm not going to be predicting who I think would win. But what I would predict is that these guys would be equally cooked if they lose their next fight. These guys would never even be sniffing the title conversation again. But if they win their next fight, they have a chance. A chance, though. Emphasis on chance. Moving on. Lightweight division. He's the thumbnail. Justin Gaethje, man. Dude. As much as it pains me to say this, if this guy loses to Rafael Fiziev coming off of a long layoff, who's ranked way lower than him on 2 weeks' notice, sorry, man, you're cooked. You're cooked. You know, he might get the Dan Hooker matchup again if he loses to Rafael Fiziev. In all seriousness, he might get that matchup again. And if he was to get that matchup again, I 100% think Justin Gaethje would win that. No doubt in my mind. I think that this guy would slaughter. I think he would slaughter Dan Hooker, to be honest. But what I think is that after he beats Dan Hooker, okay, let's look at it this way. Let's say he gets knocked out by Fiziev. All right? Not a brutal knockout, something he protests, right? We would think, yeah, he still has some left in the tank, you know? He fights Dan Hooker. Beats Dan Hooker. Gets an impressive, decision or even a TKO over Dan Hooker, right? He's going to have to fight another top 5 opponent after that. And do I think he would survive another round in the lightweight top 5? If considering the amount of time, you know? Because he's not getting any younger. And if he loses by knockout to Rafael Fiziev, we can assume minimum 6 months that he takes off, right? And then he would fight Dan Hooker. And then after beating Dan Hooker, you know, considering how much damage he takes, that's another 4 to 6 months. The next time, if he loses his next fight, the next time this guy would fight in the top 5 is a year from now. That's 2 fights more worth of damage and a year's more worth of age. I really don't think this guy would sniff the title again. He wouldn't even whiff it if he was to lose his next fight. He really wouldn't. Moving on. Another matchup. I'm the new best matchmaker. Bedtime MMA, take a seat. Okay? We got Colby Covington versus Gilbert Burns. Okay? This is this is a this is a fight I've always wanted to see, right? This is a really exciting. This would have been like a holy shit matchup back in 2022. Like holy shit. This would be like a best feature fight of the year type of matchup right here. Or like an insane fight night main event. This would still be an insane fight night main event now. And I think the UFC should do this. All right? And so, what do I have to say here? Gilbert Burns, coming off of, I mean, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. All 3 losses to really good opponents, okay? First one coming to Bilal. Bilal's a champ. Second one coming to Jack Della. Jack Della's fighting for the belt next. Third one coming to Sean Brady. I don't rate Sean Brady that highly, but Sean Brady's really good. Sean Brady's really good. There's no denying that. And this guy, you know, it's hard to say that Gilbert Burns is cooked because, you know, it was only like a year and a half ago, I think, where he was on a pretty good win streak. All came crashing down, but man, it's kind of hard to imagine that Gilbert Burns is cooked. Dang. Anyways, yeah. Essentially, if he loses his next fight, like, there's no way he's ever competing for a title again. This is his last hope, okay? The next fight, even if it's not against Colby Covington, is his last hope of ever competing for a title again. If he doesn't win his next fight, like I said, for everyone else, he's not even going to be able to dream of a title. You know what I mean? He's not going to get a shot up in the rankings right now, all right? This is the best fight he's going to get. The best fight that Gilbert Burns is going to get is against Colby Covington. And well, same doesn't go for Colby because Colby does have the chance of getting that Ian Gary fight if he stops with the dumb stipulations. The hell is that, Colby? Come on now. Just beat up the cuck, all right? It's fine. Anyways, Colby Covington, man, coming off of 2 unimpressive losses in a row. You know, that Leon fight, he broke his foot, whatever. But that Joaquin Buckley fight, man, he did show fight. I'll give him that much. He did show fight, was on short notice. Still, though, it's like, really, if he loses, he can have an excuse for the past 2 fights, right? But if he loses his next fight, coming off of a full training camp, against someone like Ian Gary or Gilbert Burns, what's his excuse then? There's no way he's coming back after that. There's no way he's coming back after that. As simple as that. I mean, especially after how much he's talked about Ian Gary, dude. Like, you better beat him if you fight him. Because if you don't beat him, all that stuff you was talking about Ian Gary is going to come and backfire on you, man. And yeah, Ian Gary's a cuck, okay? Ian Gary's a goofy one, but you're going to be looking like the goofy one if you lose to that guy. If you get your, behind kicked by Ian Gary, like, how does that make you look, bro? After all that smack he was talking. You know what I mean? In this matchup, I would be rooting for Gilbert Burns because he's a bit more humble than Colby. But I like both the fighters, man. I like both of them. I think they're both good for the sport. And yeah, moving on. A lot of you guys might think he's already cooked. I don't think he's already cooked. Okay, Israel Adesanya, he's done a lot for the sport. The UFC wants him to be a champ. All right, there's no denying that. They would definitely prefer him to be the champion over Dricus. And I do see him having one more good fight. I do see him getting a Kyle Bahadio matchup, something like that, something of the sort. I see him getting something like that. Maybe even a Robert Whittaker rematch. I mean, I'm not a matchmaker. I don't know. Even though I did matchmake twice in this video. I'm not matchmaking for Adesanya, okay? But I do see him getting one more decent matchup in. I see the UFC giving him one more because of how much he's done for the sport. But honestly, man, if he loses that, it's not a matter of him fighting or not anymore. I think it's more of a matter of he might just retire if he loses again. Because no matter what, as long as Israel Adesanya's in the UFC, I'm pretty sure the UFC is going to give him favorable matchups. I'm pretty sure the UFC is going to give him the best matchup possible to him. You know what I mean? A matchup that sets him up for the best future, right? But honestly, I see Israel Adesanya, if he loses again, if he loses to Caio Borralho or something like that, I see him just giving up. I see him just retiring after that and riding off into the sunset. Because, you know, just like how they say in soccer, you got to leave the soccer before the soccer leaves you. This guy's got to leave the fighting before the fighting leaves him. A lot of people think the fighting already left him, but most of those guys are just straight haters. I don't really like Adesanya that much, but I'm not just a straight hater. I understand how much this guy's done for his sport. I understand how talented this guy is. And as of right now, I do not think he's cooked. I do not think he's cooked, but like I said before, he might just call it quits if he loses again. Moving on. Light heavyweight division. I know Jan Blachowicz is ranked number 3. But this guy's been inactive. There's honestly very little reason he should be ranked number 3, you know? And when's the last time this guy's won a fight? Let's look at it that way. When's the last time this guy's won a fight? It's been years. It's been years since this guy's won a fight and he's ranked number 3. The only reason why this guy's ranked as high as he is because the other people around him lost tough fights. All right? If this guy doesn't beat Carlos Ulberg, okay? He's old. First of all, he's old. If he wants to contend for a title, this is his time. This is his last championship window, I feel like. Considering his age, this is his last championship window. If he doesn't beat Carlos Ulberg, which I think very early prediction, I think he will beat Carlos Ulberg. But if he wasn't to beat Carlos Ulberg, I don't see this guy getting a win over like a Jamal Hill or Khalil Roundtree. He's going to get a fight like that next. If he loses, I imagine he's going to get the loser of Khalil versus Jamal if he loses his next fight. That's what I imagine he would get, and I don't think he beats either of those guys. I think both of those guys would beat him up. And so if he loses his next fight, I think he's going to be due for retirement. The one after that. I think his time's up. All right. Final division. The heavyweight division's just cooked, man. Like this is not Curtis Blades' fault that he's on this list. This is the entire rest of the heavyweight division's fault, because if you look below the rankings, below Curtis Blades, everyone but Curtis Blades is already cooked. Marcin Tybura, Sergey Spivak. None of these guys are ever going to compete for a title. None of these guys are ever going to compete for the title. The fact that Curtis Blades is on the screen right now, I'm sorry, Curtis Blades. I don't think you're cooked. If you do lose your next matchup to that random Russian, okay, you're cooked. You're cooked, 100%. You know, I don't think you will ever compete for a title again, especially if the champ's Tom Aspinall, because he already knocked you out, bro. There's very little reason to see a rematch of that. That's why I say he's cooked. You know what I mean? But look below him, man. Marcin Tybura, Sergey Spivak. None of these guys are ever going to compete for a title. None of these guys are talented. Man, we just need better heavyweights, dude. This is like the lowest point for the heavyweight division right now. The heavyweight division, if it wasn't for Tom Aspinall, it would be like totally cooked. Okay, if it wasn't for Tom Aspinall, this division, you know what I mean? But yeah, that just about does it for my video today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Probably the two guys that watched the entire thing. Thank you guys so much. Um, yeah, man. And like always, let's think of a ending catchphrase. Um, hmm. All right, guys. I thought of an ending catchphrase. This is the best one I got. Keep your hair on the chair, guys. All right, y'all. Give me ending catchphrase requests in the comments, and I'll read them. If you comment, I will reply to you. Please comment. All right. Peace out, y'all. Good night.